WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Carrie Young in for Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Common. Daryl is out right now taking some much-deserved time off, so you'll be hearing my voice for about a week. To start us off, we're going to take you a bit outside of Boston today to focus on one of the biggest stories impacting our region. Right now, it's the flooding in our neighbor Vermont. We're recording this interview on Friday, July 14th, as some parts of the state are facing yet another set of flood warnings. And that's after a massive rainstorm last Monday that dumped 2 months of rain into 2 days. It devastated places like Ludlow, Vermont, which is home to a popular ski resort, and it caused significant damage to farms and residential communities. One impacted community is the state capital, Montpelier. We've got economy reporter for VT Digger, Fred Tice, with us today, and he's been covering the flooding in the city of Montpelier all week. Fred, thanks for being here.
Oh, glad to do it, Carrie.
Okay, so paint this picture for me. You've been spending the last several days talking to people in the capital, and again, they've seen significant flood damage. So can you just sort of walk me through what the downtown looks like?
The downtown is just completely devastated. Every single business downtown over several blocks in several directions is shut down. All the storefronts are shut down. And the business owners don't really know when they'll be able to reopen. Some are saying they don't know if they'll ever be able to reopen. Right now, people are focused on getting debris out of their stores. This is all stores and businesses and restaurants. And, they've pretty much finished, most of them, with pumping the water and the gunk, the mud and all that horrible stuff that comes with floodwaters, including harmful metals and chemicals and sewage. That's all just been deposited and has caked over their display cases and all their merchandise, anything they couldn't lift high enough. And the flooding was quite high. It was at least 3.5 feet in the stores and sometimes 4 feet. So some did not get flood insurance. Probably many did not get flood insurance. What you see on the streets right now of downtown Montpelier is just a lot of broken furniture, garbage bags, broken merchandise, everything covered in the sludge, right?
Yeah, you forget what all is included in flood water. It's not just water. It's everything that was in the streets and everywhere else. I mean, on a personal note, when you got there to, see how people were cleaning up, what did you think to yourself when you saw how bad things were?
I was just so taken aback. The week started with that it was raining, and it was raining a lot, but I was able to get out and go about downtown Montpelier because the river, or the North Branch River, actually, which feeds into the Winooski River in Montpelier, had not overflown. And it wasn't until, as if I recall correctly, sometime Monday evening, Monday night, that started to happen. And then on Tuesday, we saw the waters rising and downtown was no longer really accessible to anybody except on canoe or kayak or, the swift water rescue boats that were coming in from around the state to try to get people out of who were stranded in apartment buildings above the storefronts. It was just really shocking to finally be able to talk to some of the businesses that I'd been to many times. They couldn't get in at first, right? Because there was so much water. So they'd be like peering into their businesses from the back of some parking lot and seeing all this water, It was finally Wednesday that they started to be able to go in. But that was when it really hit me. Just, wow, the entire downtown, is just completely shut down. And I was, I think, most taken by an interview I did Thursday with Jen Roberts. She's one of the co-owners with her husband, Kip, of this famous place in Montpelier called Onion River Outdoors. And, Vermont is an outdoor mad state. Everybody just loves everything outdoors, it seems, right? And this is the main outdoor store in the capital city. And Jen, the co-owner, was saying that she thinks they'll be able to reopen, But she's really not sure because they didn't have flood insurance, because the basement's still wet, because the upstairs is still wet. They don't know the condition of the building. I cite that interview, but this is happening across the board with a lot of different businesses.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Politics has never been stranger or more online, which is why the politics team at Wired is making a new show, Wired Politics Lab. It's all about how to navigate the endless stream of news and information and what to look out for. Each week on the show, we'll dig into far-right platforms, AI chatbots, influencer campaigns, and so much more. Wired Politics Lab launches Thursday, April 11th. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts.
We're back. So, Fred Tice, I want to take a second to step outside of the Capitol quickly. What do you know about how the rest of the state is faring?
I mean, there are roads that are still blocked. The governor has issued an emergency order so that construction crews can get easier access, get around regulations for things like gravel, asphalt, all those things that are going to be needed to rebuild the roads. As you mentioned earlier, other communities were very hard hit. I mean, Ludlow had a mudslide at one point. That's the town where the Okemo Mountain Resort is. And Ludlow, was an island for much of the week because of these mudslides, because of the rivers.
Quite the visual.
Right? Yeah. Obviously parts of Montpelier were too. One of my colleagues said she was on an island, meeting in her building. I mean, she couldn't get out. We had a big concern in Montpelier over the dam spilling over. It did not spill over. It performed remarkably well. But there's a town called Chester, which is watching its dam with great concern.
And those continuing flood watches just keep on coming, it seems like. So this area just can't catch a break. It's also worth noting that at the time of this recording, which is Friday around 1 o'clock, at least one death has been reported. So there's been significant damage outside of even just like the property. It's impacting the community in that way as well. So you mentioned a little bit about what the governor was doing. Do you have a sense of what the longer term recovery is going to look like or what plans are like for that?
I think maybe I need to go back to Montpelier, just something that we just heard on Friday, that the public library, for example, is saying it will be months before it will be able to reopen. City Hall made that same announcement over the last couple of days. The federal building in Montpelier closed indefinitely. And so we're looking at not days, probably not weeks. I think we're looking at months.
I know that Vermont is a really tight-knit community. After this natural disaster earlier this week, how is the community coming together to, help out their neighbors or their businesses that they love?
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned that, Gary, because one thing that's really surprising me is how upbeat people are. And they're upbeat because they're seeing this massive support of mutual support for the businesses, for homes. I mean, people are going over to one another's homes. There were 1,400 volunteers, more than 1,400 volunteers as of Friday who had signed up through Montpelier Alive, which is kind of this business organization in Montpelier that is connecting people to homes that need help as well as businesses. And that kind of surge of support has really heartened people. I mean, you talk to people, they are just remarkably optimistic. It's hard for me to grasp, to understand how they can be that optimistic, but they are. And I think it's because they see the community spirit around them.
Oh, that's so great to hear. Well, Fred, thank you again for taking this time to talk with us about what you've seen, and stay dry out there this weekend.
Thank you, Carrie. Take care. Good to talk to you.
That was economy reporter for VT Digger, Fred Tice. He's been covering the flooding in Montpelier. Again, we recorded this episode on Friday when there was even more rain expected to come through the area over the weekend. For updates on the situation there, you can check out WBUR.org. And that's it for the show today. Thank you so much for listening to The Common. If you've been impacted by recent floods, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us a message on Instagram at WBUR The Common, or you can shoot us an email at thecommon@WBUR.org. For now, I'm Carrie Young, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.